I'm going to introduce Sarah Jones. Sarah is the Director of Product at EdFarm, leading the creation of the company's innovative learning technology. Trained in computer science at the real HU, Howard University, Sarah has rich experience building software as both a software developer and a product manager. She thrives in early stage startups and sticks to a people-centered approach to product development. And she is here to talk to us about technical product management. So please give a virtual round of applause to Sarah.
Thanks so much, Britt. I'm really excited to be talking to everyone tonight. Thank you, Justin, for that great intro. I couldn't agree more. A product manager is definitely the first hire, in my opinion, and then they can help guide the technical direction of a product. I am going to share my screen and we'll get started. Let's see. All right. Everyone should see that. Okay, so tonight I am going to talk about the founder's guide for technical product management. And before I get started, I know we introduced ourselves in the chat, but I want everybody to give me a reintroduction, or if you already did, let me know what your tech comfortability is on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being I type with 1 finger. No shade to people who actually type with 1 finger, but my dad does that, and so I associate it with people who aren't very tech savvy. And 10 is I code for a living. So while you all write in the chat, and I'll keep an eye on it, what your tech comfortability level is. Oh, 8. Oh, we have some, wow, very technical people up in the 8s. 9. Oh, Sydney, only 6? I feel like you'd be a little higher than that. I am Sarah. So as Britt said, I studied computer science at the real HU, Howard University in DC. And then I went off to be a software developer in New York. I was doing financial technology on Wall Street. And I left New York to go to graduate school for computer science, but ended up leaving halfway through because I realized back in New York, I had a product manager who I really liked. And I realized that I was better in the product management field. And so I quit that graduate degree a little early to try out product management. And on that product management job, that first job, it was actually a wonderful transition because I ended up doing a lot of software development, but I was also a product manager. And so I really cut my teeth on being a technical product manager. I was doing deployments. I was also doing code reviews. I was training junior developers, as well as leading the product direction. Because I had worked at only small companies, I realized that I had a passion for early stage startups. And I just kept looking for them to continue working in my career at small businesses. And I ended up going to EdFarm, which is my company right now. I'm the director of product there. And we work on innovative technology for teachers and students. And at EdFarm, I was able to start working with some young founders and give them some advice on how to consider tech in their development. And how to even implement the tools of product management in the beginning of their company. So I didn't know who my audience was, so I'm gonna go over this quick slide about what technical product management is, what product management is in general. So it is a product manager is responsible for aligning the strategy of a product with the business objectives. They are usually the voice of the customers. Product managers are known to be the most tuned into their customers and their needs. They also understand the market. They understand who else is building similar technology to them. They coordinate teams of designers and developers. Product managers manage products, not people. So we use a lot of our influence to get people to do what we want, but we actually solely manage the product. And then if you're a technical product manager, you're usually applying those tech skills and experiences to communicate software concepts to either your developers and designers or to your leadership team. And I love this graphic right here. It keeps it real simple. You're in between user experience, technology, and business. But being in technology and product management, I realized that it's a little bit more complicated than that. We have to have a lot more skills than just tech, UX, and business. If you look through this graphic, you'll see prototyping, empathy, UX, go-to-market strategies, road mapping, project management in general. Project management is different than product management, and project management is attempting to get a project completed in time, scope, and budget. Product managers are thinking about the tech strategy or something. So you want to find someone as a founder who has some of those skills, but you don't necessarily need someone who is a technical product manager in order to build your tech product. I have this caveat at the bottom: unless your product is a software that requires specific tech skills, like if you're building a database or an operating system or something in security, you probably need someone who knows that very specifically. But if you're building a website or a mobile app or something that's a little less or a lower tech, you don't necessarily need to know how to software develop to be a technical product manager. So we're going to talk about tonight 3 ways that I found understanding technology and the development of it, how it can help you create better products. So first, we're going to talk about getting to know the product that you are building as a founder. Second, we'll go over how to be a good tech partner. This is a hot button issue of how do you find developers who are helpful? How do you get the product that you want? And then third, we're going to discuss how to create and measure the impact of your product using technology. So let's get into this. Let's get to know your product. So I know that if we have any founders on the line, you probably think that you know your product pretty well. But I just want to challenge maybe some assumptions you might have when you're creating your technology. So first, let's just get back to the basics. What are you building and why does it need technology? When I was advising a business, and Sydney actually worked with me with this founder, she wanted to build a mobile app for teachers. And what I ended up asking her was, hey, why a mobile app? Like, why not a website? Why not, anything else? And she didn't really have an answer. She just thought, I thought a mobile app would be cool. So we ended up actually talking to teachers, and we were asking them when they encountered the problem that she was trying to solve, what were they reaching for? Were they at their desk? Were they in the middle of a lesson? Were they at home grading papers? Questions like that, really understanding the person who you're solving a problem for, can help inform what tool you can use. And there's so many different tools that you can use in technology. So you're not just making necessarily a mobile app or a web app. You could do something with artificial intelligence. You could add augmented reality to your tech. You could make something that works on a phone and also a watch or a TV. So it's just about interrogating what you're building, understanding your customers, and then identifying the best tool. And you can use people who are more tech savvy to help you figure out what that tool is. I have, as these last 2 bullets, conduct a market and competitive analysis. So who else is solving a problem similar to you? Is using a different tool going to help you have a competitive edge? And then what's the cost benefit analysis for your proposed solution? So if building a mobile app takes a lot and it's easier to create something online or a no-code solution, you might want to go with that. Next, let's talk about creating prototypes. So this is one way that understanding technology can really help you as a founder. If you are a founder and you want to create technology, but you haven't exactly prototyped your idea or really proved that it's working, you might want to go with a no-tech or a low-tech solution first. So if you're not aware of wireframing tools, these are free, like Figma or Adobe XD. These are really good tools to go online and you can mock up fairly easily a mobile app, a web app, any interaction that you want. and test it in front of your users. Get in front of your users as quickly as possible. It's a really free way and quick way to get feedback on your idea. Low-code solutions like WordPress, Wix, and Webflow, they take a little more expertise. You might need to hire someone for those if you're not familiar with those platforms, but equally as beneficial and still a lot less than hiring a developer. And then finally, we want to define your solution really clearly. So if you are a person who feels like you understand your solution, imagine explaining it to a developer. So I like to think about this example. When I was creating a product for my current company, EdFarm, we were building something for teachers. I did my user interviews. I learned what they wanted. And I went down to tell a developer what they were going to build. And I told them that I needed a sign-in. And what I ended up having to do was explain every single detail of that sign-in. So simply telling my developer that I wanted a sign-in page wasn't good enough at all. I had to write a detailed requirements document. And I remember as a developer, it was very helpful when my product manager gave me as much detail as possible on the solution that they were looking for, so I didn't have to go back and forth asking them questions. So I'm going to pull back the curtain a little and show you what my requirements document looked like for that sign up. So it's not hugely extensive, but you'll see some of the questions that we were asking. Like, for instance, you see that first point, users can request to create an admin account. So I had to identify that I didn't want everybody to sign in. Some people I wanted to sign in, other people I didn't want to. So how was I going to handle if, someone who wasn't an admin wanted to sign in? I wanted different user types. So I had to name that. What happens if they sign up? What happens if they're denied? What happens if I want Google authentication to work? Do I do that now or do I do that later? So this is just a demonstration that asking for simply that first line, a sign up page, sometimes isn't good enough. And so we need to get into the details of our requirements and be prepared to give those to our developers. So next, let's become a better tech partner. So we're gonna talk about how to find the right developer. So the first thing is that if you've done part one of this talk and you really understand your users and you understand what problem you're solving for them and you understand exactly what you need from your developer, then you can start reaching out to developers who can answer your specific question. And you're so much more prepared going into those interviews and that search process than you would be if you didn't do those previous things. So you could ask, first of all, where to look. If you look at the bottom, you can look in your network. So ask around, go on LinkedIn. I do this all the time actually, and ask who's the developer, who can code a website, who knows how to do this mobile app. You can go on sites like Fiverr and Upwork, LinkedIn, to find folks who can possibly help you. And then set up your engineering vetting questions that you'll ask every person who you talk to. If you know all of the requirements of your product, or as many as you can get down quickly, then you're able to ask, hey, do you have any past projects that are similar to mine? And can you point to them? Can I see them? What do they look like? Can you talk about a difficult project that you've worked on? What made it difficult? That'll identify what type of engineer you're working with. If they have communication issues, then they might name that, or they might tell you I like when my client is always on call. And so that with that particular person, you'd have to be a little more hands-on with them. If you're building something with a specific technology, ask them if they have experience in that. So here at EdFarm, I'm building something with AR. So I have to work with people who know how to build augmented reality experiences. If you don't know how to even search for that, you really just got to ask around. Google's your best friend in this case. And then I really recommend ask for references. So ask those engineers or contractors who you're working with or thinking about working with. Ask who they've talked to and who they worked with in the past, and if they can give a reference. Next, how do you get the right work done? So I worked with an art company a few years ago, and they had such trouble getting their developers to give them what they wanted. The reason why is because they actually weren't very specific in what they wanted, and they didn't have a good communication plan with their developers. So we're going to set that straight with this slide. First thing you should do with your developers is set the direction. All those hours you put into your requirements document, you should share with your developer and then identify the priority. So if sign up isn't the priority, if the priority is to build something, let people come on, before they have a sign up, then tell them that. And then communicate regularly with your developers. I think there's a perception that even I face as a developer that we're kind of just code monkeys. We go into a room and we code all day and then we come out and something's done. And that is not at all a fact. Working with developers is something where you need regular communication. So I used to Slack my, I don't think we had Slack back then, but whatever it was back then. I used to Slack my product manager multiple times a day, and then go to his desk if he wouldn't answer the Slack. So being in regular communication with your developer really helps you get past some of those issues that you might run into, places where they don't know exactly how to move forward. Give them your direct line, show them that what they're building is a priority, and that relationship should really flourish. Show them you care and that you respond quickly. All of this really hinges on empathy and communication. Eventually, if you are building anything in tech, you are going to face a fork in the road. Your engineers are going to come to you and ask you something, and you are not going to know the answer. And those are difficult even for me today. But what I found to be really helpful is to reference your why. So if an engineer comes to you and says, this feature is going to take X weeks long to make, if I make it the good way, but if I make it the easy and fast way, it'll take 1 week. What do you do there? Do you just want the fastest way that's not as good, or do you want the longer way, but you also have a deadline? What I find that really helps is to ask more questions. So explain to them what the use case is. So if it's about a particular feature, you can say, well, my user was going to use it like this. So does this make sense for long term? And they'll be able to answer that question. You can ask their opinion, what they would do. You can also think about what's the why. Why are you building what you're building? It might sound existential. You can think about who you are and what your company is doing, but it also really helps to inform these forks in the road. And sometimes a developer just needs an answer ASAP, and sometimes I just have to make a decision and then follow up later if I have more information. So now that you thought about your problem and you actually created your prototype or excuse me, your technology, how do you use technology to create and measure impact? So first, you're gonna want to use data to create a better product. I don't know how much people know this, but you can track what's going on in your technology. You can watch people actually use it. There are tools to do that. You can track button clicks, page views. You can create a tool that people can request features or report bugs. All of this can help you inform your product roadmap so that you can ensure that you're creating a better product in the future. So discuss with your developer, if you can, on the front end, how might you measure the success? And you'll have to kind of have those success measurements in your head going in. What is it? Does it mean anything for me to have this button clicked? Or does it mean more for someone to view this page and get to the bottom? So ask yourself those questions. There's tools like Google Analytics and LogRocket to help you track the way your customers are using the technology. Next, you'll want to test your product performance and impact. So your product is built, now you're testing your hypothesis. It's in the field, it's out there. Learn how to use beta testing to your advantage. You can use that as a marketing tool to say, hey, we have a beta out of this product, come and use it. Give people, early access, make it sound really shiny and cool. Learn about your developers' development cycle. So typically in software development, your software developers are creating the code in a development environment, and then they're pushing to a staging environment, which is an environment where they can test. Sometimes that's where you can do your beta testing. And then it's pushed into a production environment, which means that anybody can use the product. So use those environments to your advantage to test as much as you can. Do quality assurance tests. That just means making sure that your product is doing what you think it's going to do. And you're thinking about edge cases. You're thinking about how people might use it in an unexpected way, so that you can make sure that it's working in the field. This is real quick, but that's really all I have. I put these books down because these are two books and one blog that I go to regularly. Swipe to Unlock, the primer on technology and business strategy. So if you were lower on the scale of tech competency, you would love Swipe to Unlock. It tells you exactly how the internet works, exactly how data is transferred, and people create business strategies around products. It's quite an interesting book. Next is Lean UX. I go to this all the time when I'm first starting a product. I'm thinking about those first slides where I talked about getting to know your user. This is a great guide on that. It gives you step-by-step instructions. And then for measuring impact, the SaaS Metrics 2.0, it's been out for a while, a few years now, but I go to it all the time because it helps to just frame how might you get the most data from your user, most helpful data. And that's all I have. Thank you so much. I will stop share, and if anybody has any questions, let me know.
Thank you so much, Sarah. There were so many good gems in there, and I dropped some of the links that you mentioned in the chat, and so many good tips that I know that we're all going to take with us. If anyone has questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A, or I think since we have a good amount of people, you can drop them in the chat as well.
Oh, thanks for putting those links in.
That was selfishly for me as well, because I'm going to add those to my bookmarks for sure.
Oh, top marketable skills for a product manager. Let's see. I think that I feel like when I am thinking, like I'm actually considering hiring a PM, so I've been considering this myself, that like the ability to understand users, and I don't exactly know how I would name that as a skill, but like user interviews, like understanding customers, understanding a market, that's a really important skill. Communication is also an important skill. I think that might be demonstrated by like if I had a referral, I could hear someone else explain how that PM was doing in communication, but so much of the job hinges on your ability to influence and communicate just a diverse amount of topics. So you're telling an engineer about a user, and you're telling your CEO about marketing, the market and competitors. And so there's a lot of situations where you're needing to like reframe what someone's saying so that somebody else understands it. I wouldn't say tech is up there. Like I would not look necessarily for someone, and like I said, unless it was like a very technical product, but I don't know if a computer science degree or anything like that would be necessary. Now, if it was a specific technology, like right now we're building a mobile app that involves AR, And I'd love someone who understood like a Netflix-like product. So something in that category, that would matter a lot. So I guess that would be like subject matter expertise. Hope that answered your question. A great question.
I have a question for you as well. You mentioned in the beginning no low-code tools as part of the prototyping MVP process. And I'm just curious to know, as we have more non-technical founders building products, are there nuances or pros and cons to starting off with a no low-code tech stack as a founder in terms of the product management process? And how do you know, well, it's kind of two-parter, how do you know when that's a good option for you and when you need something that is custom developed?
Yeah, I think that, so if you know what the problem is you're trying to solve, you know what the people are, what people are doing when they need to reach for your solution. If that is something that is like, if you haven't seen it out there, what am I trying to say? Like, if it's unique, I suppose, like if you can't do it on a WordPress or a Webflow, a unique interaction would be like, building something in AR. You can't do that on a no-code or low-code platform. I would say as long as, I would say first, try out the no-code, low-code. So if you can get that out there, your answer is going to come from testing. So if users are responding to that and you're, getting positive results from it, then stay with it as long as possible. But if they are saying like, oh, we need this extra little thing that you can't possibly figure out using your low-code option, then that's when to go into a custom direction. But also, I really lean on advice from engineers and people who are like deeper in the field. So I haven't software developed in a long time. And so I feel like every year I learn, like my number of tech competency goes down every year that I'm not a developer. So just seek out advice if you know anybody who's an engineer, and people will usually point you in the right direction.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions in the chat?
I just want to shout out Mom on here. Hey, Roxy.
Aw, we love that. Awesome. Well, I think that those are all of our questions. You did such a great job explaining that, that we don't even have a lot of questions. Thank you so much, Sarah, for taking the time. I know that you are in the midst of some exciting product updates at EdFarm. So, oh, wait, we do have one more question.
Oh,
no worries.
Yeah.
Aw. Great job for Mom. One more question. Do you have examples of demonstration tests and interviews?
Oh, yes. I do those all the time. When you say examples, what do you mean? And feel free to come off mute. Like I have Zooms that would you like me to explain the process?
I would say, yeah, let's start there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so usually what I start with is a testing guide. So before I encounter users, I ask myself, what do I want to learn from them? And if I have a prototype, especially, then I'm able to like think about what do I want them to do in the, oh yeah, okay. This should pass your interview because this is real life tested. But yeah, first you want to consider the testing guide. So like, what information are you wanting to learn? Second, getting a user group that reflects the type of people who you are interested in learning more about. So if you have different user personas that you work with, like who are you interacting with? Or is it just like a general test and you just want to kind of see what everybody's feeling about your product? Then, you have your testing guide, you have your questions written out, and you go into those tests and you go through those questions. This is a little like interviewing know-how. You have to not talk so much, let them talk. Try not to give them leading questions or leading answers. If they respond to something, say like, isn't that good, isn't it? Like, don't you love that? Don't say that. Just ask them how they feel about it. Is it solving their problem? If you're not at the prototype phase, if you're more at the product discovery phase, you're asking more questions about the problem itself. So like, I talk to teachers about lesson plan. So I'm asking them, when do you write your lesson plan? I'm not asking them, don't you want an app that like you can write a lesson plan on? You're thinking of questions like that'll help you get to an answer, but more open-ended, just to understand the problem in general. And sometimes a great question is like, what's your biggest difficulty with this thing that I'm trying to solve? And you'll get a number of answers. And a product manager mentor of mine told me years ago, and it's always worked, to ask the questions until you get the same answers over and over. So people often ask, like, how many interviews do I need to do? I find it's usually like between like 5 and 15. But if by 6 and 7 you're getting the same answer and nobody's changing their answer, then you've got your answer. If you're getting to 15 and you're still getting a different answer, you might need to refine your questions. Or self-reflect and see if you're guiding them in a different direction. But yeah, that's usually how I go about it.
Yes, this will be recorded. It'll be posted on the YouTube channel. So we'll make sure that you get that recording link sent to you. And just as a follow-up, Sarah, how long typically is an interview? Does it depend on the context of the conversation, how many conversations you've had with that person, or is there sort of a standard amount of time that you should ask someone for when doing those type of interviews?
Yeah. So I typically hit an hour when I'm doing these interviews, and I try to measure out my questions, so I'm going about an hour. If you're paying people, then feel free to go like an hour and some change. If you're not paying people, I'd say like keep it down as much as you can to like 30, 45 minutes. One of my biggest challenges with interviewing is finding people, especially when we're in the product discovery stage. I'm thinking about one app, the art app that I was building with someone who wanted to find a way to digitize art. I was trying to do product discovery and I couldn't find any artists who would talk to me for free. It was their time is really valuable, and they wanted to get paid. And so the few artists that I did get to talk to, I had to limit my time with them. And so you just have to make sure that you're hitting those questions as quickly as possible. You're letting them talk, but you're cutting them off if they're, getting off track. And you're getting as much information as possible. But where you can, and if you can, pay people for their interviews, because that time is valuable.
Got it. Great advice. I love that advice of keep asking the questions until you get consistent answers. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really great practical tip for all of us, as I know it's an art and a science to doing these types of interviews.
It is. Yeah, actually, was that DeMario? A book called UX Team of One. It has really good, it's another clear guide. Let me write it down. It's a really good guide. That's how I do it. Yeah.
Well, we have several books and links that we can look forward to after this. Thank you again, Sarah, so much for providing us with your expertise. I know your time is also valuable, so we appreciate you giving back to the community. Shout out to Mom again for joining us as well. I'm going to drop a link here in the chat to Collab's newsletter. If you're not currently signed up, definitely make sure that you add your email to that list, because that's where you'll find out not only about other opportunities and resources, but also future labs where we'll have awesome experts like Sarah who will be sharing their knowledge with us when it comes to product management. And we hope to see you back for more of these. And thank you again, Sarah. We appreciate you so much. And we'll give you all the rest of your evening. Thanks for joining us. And we hope to see you next time.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, Britt. Bye.
Have a good night.